Welcome to Worthy Women Wednesday. We have Malorie Avaline here with us today. She is a coach, a speaker, a really powerful healer to support women of all ages and in people of all ages really to show up for themselves first and then go out and support others. And really what I love that you talk about, for one, like when I first met you, your energy. I was like, who is this woman? I've got to get on a phone call with her. And so we did, and I got to hear your story last week. But what I love that you do is that you really support people and realizing that their painful past experiences has made them stronger and able to show up in this world even more powerfully. So thank you so much for being on my show today.
You're so welcome. Thank you for having me. I love connecting with any other women in the world. And I call it their magic. Yeah. Like when you're in your magic, it's like love, right?
Yeah.
It feels like magic when you're out there living your purpose. So I love connecting with other like-minded women.
Yes, we are in our magic right now because we chose to show up and use our voice, because it was a choice, right? Because I know you've gone through a lot in your past, and those things could have led you to, you know, a downward spiral, which I'm sure at some point it did. But I would love to just our audience, for them to hear whatever you feel comfortable sharing about your past story, and then we'll move on to what you're up to in this world and what you did to support you and showing up now.
Yeah, of course. I'm happy to share it. I'm a pretty open book. I think I told you that. And my story's out there for people to hear and read, like the full story. Yeah. You know, you can listen to it on my podcast. It's episode 1. It's terrible. It's terrible. Audio is terrible. I'm nervous. I was anxious. But we all start somewhere, right?
Yeah.
And then my has grown dramatically and changed. But the story of the orphan is there. So you can go listen there. But I went through a lot. You know, anything that I say to people, I never want it to be shocking, but it's part of my truth. I grew up in Canada. My different funding. I started doing drugs when I was 14. I was raped at 15. I ended up in a very toxic, abusive marriage because of that, and had incredibly low self-esteem for many, many years. And one day, I literally snapped out of it and decided that this stuff, like this is not of being married with someone that you're afraid to speak up to, being miserable in your life, taking tampons, taking therapy.
Hey, Malorie. I don't want to interrupt you, but the connection's really bad right now. And I know you're in Oklahoma, so the storm, it might be the storm, to be honest. But it's like cutting in and out. I can hear you because I know a little bit about your story, but I think that there's something going on with the internet connection. It might be on my end, but are you seeing me clearly? Because it's better now. Okay, you're back. Okay, I was like, I don't want people to miss this part of your story. Okay, so just like start off with a little bit before, you know, I heard the drug part, and then what was next?
So I was, you know, I was at the lowest low, what I considered my lowest low. You know, I was married to a man that was physically, mentally, and emotionally abusive. So it was all of the above. I was addicted. I was miserable. I had a crap job, barely making any money. And I was just just unhappy. And I thought, well, if this isn't rock bottom, like, I don't want to know what rock bottom is, because this sure feels like it. And I literally decided one day that enough was enough. And I was sick and tired. And you hear that a lot, but it's so true. I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. I was sick and tired of miserable days and fights and being afraid to speak my mind because I didn't want to get hit for it. I mean, when you're living in fear like that every day, it's like something's got to change. And I knew that it had to be me that made the change.
Yeah. Which is incredible. So thank you for sharing that, which it's incredible to actually for you to notice that only you could have made that change, right? And so in your abusive, you know, just growing up, so can you just speak on who was the support that you did have growing up to really, I mean, yes, you went through another abusive relationship after, you know, the drug stuff, but you are so powerful to have that conversation with yourself, to even realize that it was you who got to change and just show up for yourself.
So I love this question because people always think that you're going to get some kind or that there should be someone in your life, right,
Yeah.
and like helped you along and changed things and like showed you the way.
Yeah.
But when I like really get down to the nitty gritty of what I do as a healer, the biggest piece is that I teach people to heal themselves. And
Yeah.
that's because I learned that I was the only person that was going to heal me.
Yeah.
Nobody was going to save me. Yes.
Yeah.
Is therapy great? Is counseling great? Are coaches great? Yes.
Yeah.
But you have to do the internal work.
Yeah.
And I was lucky enough to grow up with a mother that is one of my biggest spiritual teachers. She has always taught me that my relationship with God is my relationship with God. And
Yeah.
it's not based on a building over my head or walls around me or
Yeah.
a doctrine or religion, but that I get to seek that healing for me. And she instilled that in me from the time I was a little girl. And she'll even say today, because we're very intuitive in my family, I wouldn't call it clairvoyant because I don't really resonate with that word.
Yeah.
But I'm very visionary. I have very vivid dreams. And so
Yeah.
does my mom.
Yeah.
She would call me and tell me when I was like in the depths of my addiction about these dreams she was having. And she's like, I knew that I couldn't reach you because you had to go through what you had to go through to decide enough was enough. But I was praying for you the entire time.
Yeah.
So I know that my mom is one of those people that's always been behind the scenes, like cheering me on, praying for me, believing in me. But it really was me believing that I was capable of more and never giving up on myself.
Yeah, that's huge. I love that you pointed that out because oftentimes like we give our power away to those around us, like our abusers or to like a drug or whatever, or we give our power away. And since we gave it away, we can also take it back. And so what I'm hearing you say is that you decided to take your power back and take responsibility of your life, right?
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
ultimately you're the only one who could do that. And I love obviously that you had your mom teaching you that, because that's really amazing that you had that support. I know growing up that my mom and I did not have that connection. And so it's really powerful to like hear that from you. And so going forward in that, after your abusive relationship, can you just speak on like how you got out of that relationship too? Because I know a lot of my audience is either going through some kind of painful past experience, whether it's domestic abuse, or drug addiction, and they're ready to get out and they get to hear from you on, just supporting them in that.
This like gives me the chills because it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
It's really hard, but staying in it is hard.
Yeah.
So I tell people all the time, you get to pick your hard. It's really hard to start over. It was really hard to go live with a friend for a couple of months and work at a shithole bar, cleaning up throw up out of the urinals as a cocktail waitress, just to make a couple of $100 a night to save up so I could get my own trash duplex that I lived in. Like, because I could barely afford anything. But sleeping on a mattress on the floor for a few months till I could slowly buy furniture felt better and safer to me than spending another night in that house with that man. And so it's hard, but what I would say is, first of all, pick your hard. Do you want to pick the hard that is you staying in a misery year after year after year and calling it a life, and then bringing children into that and subconsciously, slowly programming your children to believe that that kind of behavior is okay? Or do you want to start over, eat a piece of humble pie, go get on some food stamps, go get the shitty job that's going to get you by, and find your way out of the dark hole to a better life? Like, pick your hard. The other one sucks for a little while, but the other side's real good over here. But I can't imagine if I would have picked the other hard and stayed in that all this year. All these years.
What? Okay, that is huge. Pick your hard, because we can do hard things, and sometimes I think that when we're in the midst of it, it doesn't feel like a choice. But what you're saying is it's absolutely a choice.
I tell people all the time, not choosing is a choice. If you're not changing it, you're choosing. Not changing or choosing. And people don't think of it like that. Well, that's the hard choice. Yeah, well, you're choosing another hard choice by not changing. So either way you're choosing, what's gonna be the fruit of your choice?
Yeah, exactly. We're always making decisions and making choices. And so also you mentioned that your kids do notice. I know that's oftentimes, the question of like, well, my kids are young. They don't, I make sure they don't see any of this. But can you just speak into the reality that your kids know? They're a lot smarter than you'll ever realize.
I'm going to say something that's going to blow people's minds.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
literally you
Yeah.
coming into this earth, your brain is a like software program. Okay? Like
Yeah.
this is your computer hardware and this is your software. Everything that has ever ran in front of you, behind you, beside you, anything you've ever experienced is stored in your neurology.
Yeah.
If you had a very traumatic birth, that's stored in your neurology. So what people don't realize is that your children subconsciously pick up things that you're not even needing to teach them. And I do a lot of timeline therapy work and a lot of regression work myself and with my clients. I have I'm going to be very direct here. I currently don't have a good relationship with my father. And in all of these childhood regressions, these memories come up and I'll think I'm making it up. And I will call my mother and she's like, oh my God, you were 4 when that happened. Do you remember that? And so what people think they're doing by fighting in the bedroom and hiding it, or, oh, we were just being silly, we were play fighting, we weren't really fighting. Your children, energy doesn't lie. And your children are picking up the energy that you're putting off. And if mommy is running to the bedroom crying every night, they pick up on that. You could be telling them, mommy's just really sad right now, baby, mommy had a bad day. They know that's not true. They might not know that they know it's not true, but our subconscious minds are so brilliant and they pick up on everything. And people don't realize how much they're subconsciously programming their children when they think they're only consciously teaching them things. Yeah, that is so. So what I'm thinking of, so your podcast right now, you have your podcast is Truth Evolves, right? And so what you're speaking into is the truth of the reality of how much your kids know. And I know sometimes our audience might be listening, being like, well, she doesn't know my family, she doesn't know my story. But the truth is, like you just said, kids know so much more than we think. And I mean, we know so much more than we think because it's 95% subconscious. And can you just explain like subconscious and conscious for our audience who might not be understanding this conversation as well? Your conscious thoughts are what you're speaking, doing, thinking that is in your awareness. It's in your awareness. I try to give different examples for people to really understand, but this one's a good one for people everywhere. When you want to purchase a new vehicle, right? You're like, oh, I really like that Mercedes, yada, 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 whatever it is. I have my eyes on that baby. That thing looks so good. Like, oh my God, there it is in black. It looks really good in black. Oh my God, it looks really good. Ooh, do I want it in white? Why does everyone drive one of these now? Can they just start making a whole bunch more of these? So good. Because it's in your awareness. So you notice it more. And that's how our subconscious minds work. Our subconscious minds are running all the time. Our conscious mind is when things are in our awareness, and things don't come into your awareness until you're aware they come into your awareness. And so the more I learn, for example, the more I realize of what I don't know. The more I learn, the more I realize how much more there is to learn. Because now I'm aware of the vastness and the depth of learning, right? And so people can say something's not true all day long. And that's why there's a tagline in my podcast that is also immersed in the Bible, whether you're biblical or not, because it's other places as well. But it says that the truth will first disturb you, then it will set you free. Because think about it. Think of when they invented the light bulb. They're like, oh my God, witchcraft. Got in trouble for that. Something that they weren't used to seeing. So it was new, and it was different, and it was weird, and it was a threat to society. But now we're doing this with a ring light. Like now, light bulbs of every shape and size everywhere, and it's our normal. What people don't know what they don't know. And so the subconscious mind, it allows you to access parts of yourself that you don't even know that you don't know. And that's the fascinating thing about the subconscious mind. I love that. I've done that so many times where I'm like, I want this car, and I'm like, no one has it. Oh, everyone has it now. And so that's exactly what an amazing example that is. And to go forward into that, like noticing, when you start noticing these things, how did you at first start doing this? Did you do this on your own, or did someone call you forward and start speaking into you of some things that maybe you didn't notice about yourself and some things you got to continue learning, and you currently continue learning? It's wild because I didn't learn this until recently because I was doing some timeline therapy work the other day, and I've had a big story around high school. I had to have an algebra tutor. Like, I had just deemed myself the kid that couldn't learn well, that it was hard for me to learn, and I wasn't smart like other people. My senior year in high school, actually my freshman year, I had a teacher come to me and ask me to apply to be in the AP English class, and I laughed. I'm like, me? Like, have you seen my grades? Like, there's no way. She's like, I believe in you, and I've seen your writings, and I've seen what you do, and I would love for you to apply to be in my class. Well, I spent a couple years in her class, and I coasted, and I did well. In my senior year, she pulled me aside. We had a huge project that was due, and it was this 30-minute multimedia presentation, and I was like, kind of half doing it, you know, and she pulled me aside, and she basically backed me up against the wall and said, you are self-sabotaging. You are so much more capable than what you are doing. I don't know who told you you weren't smart, but I'm telling you right now, you're brilliant. And if you applied yourself like you do in other areas of your life that feel good to you, you could go so far. And then I did the multimedia presentation over the next few weeks. We had to put it together. And still to this day, she tells me, until she retired now, but she said until the day she retired, I maintained the highest score that she had ever given in that class.
That's
and
amazing.
So I circled back and I touched base with her, and I told her thank you, because now that I have teenagers, you know, I'm like, there are a couple teachers that are standout teachers to me. I can tell my children they're brilliant all day long, but sometimes it takes that one teacher or that one mentor or that one coach that they really look up to and they value their opinion to tell them that they see something more in them. And so I've even since contacted her on Facebook, and she's like, I'm just so proud of you. This is so incredible what you've done with your life. So, you know, there is people along the way that believe in you, and it really changes the trajectory of the way you think about yourself.
And so what I love about that is that she wasn't afraid to offend you, right? So often we might notice these things about people, or we might see that exactly they're not showing up as their full potential. And we're too worried about being kind or nice, or them not being angry at us, or whatever it is. And so can you speak into that? Because you've come full circle. Obviously, you've had someone take a stand for you, and now you're taking a stand for others in this way. And so to our audience listening, I have a lot of people who also want to become coaches or want to show up more and use their voice. Can you speak into just being bold and sharing this with people?
Yeah. First of all, and this is not discouraging, but don't even try to be a coach at all. Don't even attempt it. So you can look at yourself in the mirror and look at all the dirty, nasty, ugly parts of you and not judge yourself anymore. Like, that's what it takes. You
So good.
can't sit there and coaches don't fix people. Right? We invite people to fix themselves. And if I'm not looking to fix whatever my stuff is that's doing that, then how can I ever serve anyone else? So that's one thing I would say to coaching.
I love that.
I think the other thing is you can't want it more than your client wants it. Like, if you're my client and I'm like, oh, Alicia, come on, girl, like, I believe in you, and you're like, well, I know, Mel, but I have this thing come up with my fiance, and I can't hop on our call tonight. I'm like, she's rescheduled on me 4 times in the last month. It's like, I can't want it as a coach more than you want it and get a result.
Exactly.
As a coach, you have to desire it for people, but they have to be willing to play full out and show up for that. And then you have to release the attachment. Because when I first started coaching 3 years ago, and if I had a client not get the result that I thought they should have gotten, I would beat myself up over it. Like, I should have done this differently. I should have gotten more involved in their business. And my husband's like, babe, what do you want to do? Rent a room at their house? Like, make sure they're doing everything.
Absolutely, me too.
Like, you just have to release. You have to do the work for you. And this doesn't mean go perfect yourself before you serve. I'm not saying that at all, because there's brokenness, there's pieces, and like I said, the more we learn about ourselves, the more we realize there's more work to do. So I'm not saying go perfect yourself and then come be a coach. I'm saying get to a place where you're so centered in who you are, and that you know that you have an offer to the world, and you can truly come from a place of service while also working on yourself.
I love that you pointed that out, because oftentimes, we might want to show up for other people, and we're like, yes, I can share my story I can be, we talked about this last week, I can be vulnerable enough, you know, the things that you feel comfortable sharing. But like you just said, it's all of you, all of the baggage or all of the things that you haven't wanted to bring up, you get to work through before you know, support other people. And so, but in that though, obviously, like you're saying, and what you said before was like you're learning and your things are becoming conscious to you too. And so can you just speak on like, yeah, the not perfection? Because I know that maybe some people are listening and they might be hearing, oh, I have to be perfect before I go make a difference in this world. And I know that's not what you're saying, but I just want to clarify that. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Perfect is not real, just like
Yeah.
real.
Yeah. Same. Same. Yeah. Yeah.
The thing is, like, really knowing that and embodying
Mm-hmm.
that, like, perfect isn't real. Perfect was created, I don't know, out of a sense of competition, of one-upping somebody. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not saying get on Facebook and air all your dirty laundry,
Yeah.
but people like authenticity.
Yes.
People don't relate to if I came out and was like, yes, I'm a best-selling author and I graduated from Yale and my life is perfect.
Yeah.
They're not going to listen to me. But if I sit and tell people my story, my struggle, how I fought to be here, people relate to that more than it's like I used to own a brick and mortar business.
Yeah.
And so it's like someone that graduated college with a business degree and they came applied to be a manager at my brick and mortar business. Yeah. You've got the knowledge. You don't have the practice. You have not put anything into place.
Yeah.
You can go read all the self-development books.
Yes.
And you can read all the podcasts or listen to the podcast. And you can go get certified in Tony Robbins and Butcher, and you can take every freaking expensive course that's out there. But until you start doing the work and do the messy work, take the messy steps, humble, quit trying to go out and charge thousands of dollars to your first client and say, you know what, I'm going to charge $150. And I'm going to do this challenge and I'm going to serve these clients and I'm going to serve them so good that they're going to go tell 10 friends.
Yeah.
And then that's going to build your business. Quit going
Love
like,
that.
there's so many people, and I love this comparison. I love when people are like, quit comparing your day 3 to my day 3,472.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
I've been doing this a minute, girl.
Yeah. Yeah.
We all have struggles, but that's why I think too, it's so important to not only invest in your growth, but align yourself with other women that are playing at your level so that you can lean on them for support as well.
Yeah. That's amazing what you just said, because there's a difference between like just learning all the things, like reading all the things. You know, one of my clients was just like, I'm reading 3 books right now. I was like, and she was, you know, bragging about it. And I was like, I love you, and put down all but one. And then go experience that book. Go out and actually make that an experience. Because like you're saying right now, you get to go do that. You get to go have that experience, because until you really can experience that fully yourself, you don't know what's going to come up in the consciousness of experience it. But can you just like speak on the difference between learning and filling yourself with courses and all that, and actually just going out and doing?
Yes.
And you talk a little bit.
I heard it referred to, I was at a conference a couple years ago, and I heard it referred to the self-help vortex.
Right.
And I love that because it sucks you in, right? Especially when you first get into it.
Very true.
This is so good, this book is good, and this book is good, this is so good, and then you start getting into spirituality. So then you're like, self-help, spirituality, how-to book. And it's like, information, but what I tell people is information is not knowledge. Knowledge comes from the application of the information. So you have to go out there and integrate. You have to go do the thing, integrate,
Mallory, I think you're muted on Zoom really quick.
Oh. Stay muted. Oh, there we go.
There we go. So make sure they can hear on both.
That's okay.
I think you're still muted on Zoom.
Do I need to be muted or
no? No, I don't think you need to be muted on Zoom. I think you need to be muted on, right? Can you unmute on Zoom? Let's try it out really quick. I just want to make sure that they're saying this. Okay, there.
There we go.
Good.
Okay,
Yep,
perfect.
good. Okay.
I'm like, I don't know what I clicked.
No, you're like just getting into it. I was like, oh no, they've got to hear it. Okay, so you're talking about the self-help books and the vortex and just doing all these
Yeah,
things.
you can get in this vortex of self-help and never get into the integration of it. You have to go apply it. You can read about meditation all day long. That doesn't mean you know how to meditate, but you know how to quiet your mind. So how would anything be any different? You can go talk about patience and compassion and gratitude and all of these things, but unless you're integrating them, they never become a part of your being. I think of it like I can remember in the very beginning of when I started dating my husband. We've been together for 13 years now. But coming out of an abusive marriage, I was terrified, right? I was so scared. I had to practice allowing someone in. I had to practice having a peaceful relationship. I had to practice communication because I had never experienced those things before. Well, I had to reach for them sometimes, right? I'm like, oh, this is really uncomfortable because last time I spoke up to a man, I got shoved against the wall. So I've got to reach for the desire to communicate. Well, after a while, it's like, okay, I don't have to reach so far for that. Oh, okay, wait, now it's here. Okay, I've anchored it down. Now communication is a part of my daily routine. I'm not having to reach for it. And so I think of it like a muscle almost. And you go to the gym, you work out, you get sore, it hurts, but then it repairs itself, right? And so it's uncomfortable to put these new practices into play at first, but that's how you anchor them in so that you're no longer reaching for them. You integrate them, you anchor them down, and they become a part of you. But if you're just trying to reach for all these big ideas in the world and never actually put the application in place, all you're doing is reaching a whole bunch, and that's going to get real exhausting.
Yes, really exhausting. And then you start asking yourself, you're like, well, why am I not healed? Right? I'm sure you've had this question. You're like, they're like, I've done all the things and I'm still not healed. And you're like, so then they start feeling like they're never going to be healed. And for one, there's never a point of like, bam, I hit it, I'm healed, I'm done with this journey. It's a continuous journey. But can you just like, speak on just the journey of the process of learning and experiencing? And like you said, it doesn't just happen overnight. And we
Yeah, it
feel that way when we
definitely
compare
definitely
ourselves.
doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
It's a process. And I tell people, you know, you got to be gentle with yourself in the process of your healing and in the process of evolving to who you're supposed to be. Think of a snake, right? Like a snake literally has to shed its skin or it dies. It literally dies if it does not shed its skin because it closes in on itself. You have to, and it's painful and it's tedious, but it has to in order to live and survive. And so you have to be like so gentle and so graceful with the process of becoming who you're supposed to be. And I tune in anymore. I'm like, what do I need? What does my body need? Do I need a break? Do I need a new book? Do I need like something to spur some new ideas? Or do I need to go rent a cabin with my girlfriends for 2 nights and completely unplug and sit in a hot tub? Like, what do I need? And that's how I lean into my healing. Some mornings it might be a freaking serious workout at the boot camp that I go to. And other mornings it might be a super slow motion yoga. It's like, what do you need in your healing journey? Is it physical? Is it spiritual? Is it emotional? If you can't decide what it is you need in your life, you're not going to be able to get there. So if you're somebody that's feeling confused or overwhelmed and doesn't even know where to start with your healing, this might sound silly because people don't understand how to do this, but tune in. Really ask yourself, because your subconscious knows. Your conscious might not know because our conscious mind is always in the way. But ask yourself as you're falling asleep at night, when you're relaxed, when you're in the shower, when you're relaxed, because that's when the subconscious likes to come out and play, is when you're relaxed. And literally ask yourself, what do I need? What do I need to begin my healing journey? Do I need support? Do I need friendships? Do I need to relax? Do I need to hire a coach? Do I need to go to a retreat? Do I need to find a mentor? What is it that I need? And the confirmation will come to you if you start asking.
Yeah, and be willing to actually listen, right? Because so often we're like, I don't know conversation comes up all the time, probably in your head, and you get to move past that, but it's like, you do know, and you get to listen like you're saying. And so when you ask yourself that, I mean, and that's a daily practice, right? Daily, hourly, maybe all the time. But when you ask,
anymore it is, because like I said, this is not new for me. I've been on this healing journey a really long time. And so anymore, it's automatic. I'll even change plans that I had. I'm like, ooh, my soul's saying, put on some music and take a bath tonight instead of go out and have a cocktail. And I've canceled plans last minute because I'm just so in tune with what I need for me.
Which is huge, to be able to take that stand for yourself. You know, oftentimes, you know, we think about everybody else before us. And so like most of the time, people probably listening to that who are people pleasers and who, you know, haven't stood up for themselves are like, what do you mean she canceled plans? Like, you know, no matter how exhausted you were, like most people wouldn't do that. And so can you just speak into actually listening afterwards? So you heard that voice say, hey, you got to take a bath tonight and love on yourself. And to listen is really important too. So can you speak into that as well?
Yeah, I can definitely speak to this because I'm a recovered people pleaser. For a long time, I said recovering because I was like, I'm working on it. I'm a recovering people pleaser. But I feel like the gift of what 2020 was, which people think I'm crazy for saying that, but 2020 taught a lot of us what's important, you know, to refocus. And so I really have come out of that people pleaser mode. So I understand, but again, it's a subconscious thing, right? So this is what you don't, people, when I say you, I mean anyone listening to this, what you don't understand is that by saying yes, when you physically like want to say no, when you're like inside, you're like, I don't really want to go to this thing. I don't feel like doing this thing. This is not what I want to be doing right now. But you're like, yes, I'll go to that because I committed to that. Well, what you're doing is subconsciously, you're telling yourself you're not worth it, that something else is more important than what you desire. So you're not even aware that you're subconsciously programming yourself and creating incredibly unhealthy habits that the longer you are in that habit, the harder it is to break. So subconsciously, you're programming yourself by doing things against your own will.
Yeah. Yeah, because so it's for you too, like to realize that you're worth that. And whether we think someone notices or not, our energy is different when we're actually doing it because of the not being able to say no or the people pleasing or whatever else. And people notice that too. So I always tell people, I'm like, actually, it's a disservice to go, you know, and I always talk about this with dates. You know, they're like, well, they asked for a second date, so I'm going to give them another chance. I'm like, do you actually want to give them a chance? And they're like, no. And I'm like, you're actually doing them a disservice by not actually speaking up for yourself and showing them, because they could be going on dates and friendships too. They can be going out and getting cocktails with somebody else who's ready for that and who's going to bring that excitement and the energy too. And so I love that you point out that. So I know we're talking a lot about like not big picture, but there's a lot here that we're covering. And so I wanted to just like hone in on just like 3 tools, whatever, how many tools, and it's not magic number 3, but whatever comes to you and sharing on a daily basis. How do you show up for yourself really powerfully? Because I know that, you know, we hear a lot of these tools, and again, it's something that you're going to learn right now and you get to experience and see if it works for you. But what are some things that have really supported you on the daily basis?
Sure. Yeah, I love this because everybody's practice is different, you know, and it's funny because when I first got into this coaching world, right, before I even became a coach, when I was first hiring coaches, because I've been a business owner and an entrepreneur forever, you know, people tell you about the miracle morning and the power hour, right? And all these like methods. And you're like, all right, I'm going to do Annie Priscilla 75 hard.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work for me. It doesn't work for my personality. And I was sitting feeling like I was failing because I couldn't do these like super masculine things. Women aren't meant to move about that way. We're more intuitive creatures. We literally live our lives more in a state of flow. And so once I realized I didn't have to do everyone's else's method and that I can do my own, that's what switched on that light bulb. So anything I suggest, if it lands with you and it feels like something you want to try on for size, by all means, do it. But don't feel like because this is what works for me, that it's totally going to work for you. And that's with anything. So gratitude is number 1 for me, because our attention goes where our energy flows where our attention goes. And so if your attention first thing is on stress, what you have to do that day, that first email you have to return, your energy is already going there because your attention is already there. And so first thing in the morning, literally before I even put my feet on the ground, I'm like, thank you, God. Thank you for this day. Thank you for this home. Thank you for my healthy family. Thank you for this incredibly comfortable bed I get to sleep in every night. Thank you for a good night's sleep. Use me today. Let me be aware. I kind of go through my senses. I'm like, let me see what I need to see. Let me hear what I need to hear. Let me speak what I need to speak. Let me touch the people that I need to touch today so that I can be of the highest service. And it's like less than a 1-minute conversation with God in the morning. And then I move on to my next thing. So I always start with gratitude. Number 2, I drink a lot of water, like a lot of water.
Good. Yeah.
I love red wine, but I know how I feel if I drink too much red wine. So I make daily choices that support how I actually want to feel. And this can go really deep, right? Because you might say, anyone that's listening might say something, I don't want to answer his text messages. We're broke up. I don't want to talk to him. And then you're in your phone answering his text messages.
Yes.
Like you said you wanted one thing, but your actions say different.
Yeah.
So you can't be too disappointed in yourself if you're feeling bad because you're the one that made the choice to make you feel bad. So I feel good when my body is hydrated and when I'm drinking a lot of water. So I drink a ton of water every day. That's one of my other ones. My third one that I do every day is move my body. Whether it's a boot camp, yoga, stretching. Sometimes I want to go hard in the gym. I'm there for 2 hours. And then sometimes I just want to get my foam roller out and I want to stretch and I want to dance around my house. But I have learned that I feel better in my body. I serve my clients better. I sleep better when I move my body every single day. And if you notice, all of those things have zero to do with running my business, making money, talking to clients, because if I don't serve me first, I can't go serve everyone else.
Yeah. I love those points. Actually, those are exactly what I do too. And so obviously like they might be, and so like listening to that, they might be similar. This might be similar to something that works for you, but do it. Actually make the plan tomorrow to start your day like that. Go to bed and drink water and do all these things right now. Because I know oftentimes we're like, we'll do it when. And I love that you also just pointed out that like, we don't have to do it like somebody else or like some other, 75 hard, whatever it was. I love this meme that it was like, millionaires wake up at 5 a.m. and then underneath it was like, and some millionaires don't, and so it's like, we always have our comparison game going to what's working for them. And yeah, we can learn from other people. You can learn from this interview and then you get to experience it and be in tune to what's working for you. And so I love that you shared that. And then just in going forward, how can people get a hold of you, get connected with you? I know you have a retreat, and I'm here in Phoenix, so I would love you to talk about the retreat that you're going to speak at here in Phoenix at the end of the month. And so can you speak about what you have coming up and how they can get a hold of you and get connected?
Yes. Yeah. So my business has really pivoted over the last 1.5 years, and I started hosting events and retreats, and the retreats are just where it's at. It's absolute magic. I'm hosting one in Scottsdale coming up, which is the 27th and 28th of February. And I have just an epic, alongside myself and Joy, who is my co-host, we have an epic lineup of women coming in that are healers, speakers, teachers, multimillionaires, spiritual leaders. I mean, because I believe that we can't have an incredibly successful, like wildly successful business if we're not in tune with who we are. So this is equal parts healing and restoration and business. And we're combining both to bring 2 power-packed days full of feminine energy, healing, strategy, all of it. So it's going to be a power-packed 2 days. And then I have my Super Bloom retreat, which I will be releasing the exact dates to after this retreat is over, but it will be in Tulum in September. And that's an entirely spiritual healing retreat. Like we'll do some inner work. We're going to do some some timeline therapy and some childhood regression, but we're also going to dance and do a clay meditations and go swim in the cenotes and go to the Mayan ruins. So we're doing all of those magnificent things. And Tulum is just like this magical vortex of a place on the planet anyway. And then I have a mastermind coming up that I'm launching April 1st. And that is for ambitious women that are in business. So women that currently have a business or they're pretty good into their side hustle and they want to learn how to collaborate with other women, build long-lasting relationships, learn from various experts, because I'll be bringing in some different colleagues throughout the 6 months to really talk to people about the different aspects of business that will really implement strong strategies to help them grow and scale their business and super bloom in 2021.
Yes, I love that. Okay, for one, it's like they're in-person retreats, which is so powerful to actually have that connection in person. So I will be commenting below so you guys can have all the links to her Facebook, Instagram, the retreat coming up, all of that fun stuff, because you get to get connected and you get to take action now. I want to encourage you guys that you're listening, whatever came up for you. If you want to speak to somebody, don't hesitate, message one of us and talk to somebody, because oftentimes we want to do things when we're ready or next
You're never
week.
ready.
Never.
You're never. Like I think there's even a book that's called like Ready as a Lie or something. And it's so true. You're never ready. Just ask. And I tell people all the time, if you don't ask, the answer is always no. So go ask questions, go get involved. I go to retreats. I've gone to huge seminars alone. Like, if you don't have your tribe, if you're like, I don't have any like-minded women, go find them. Go buy a ticket to the retreat that the like-minded women are going to be at so you can exchange phone numbers.
Yes.
Like, just
I love that point.
Go put yourself in situations that encourage you to grow.
Yeah. That was like the first thing I started doing really when I was on this healing journey and wanting to show up for myself more powerfully was I went to places by myself. I literally Googled events in Phoenix, Arizona, and I would go by myself. So I love that you're pointing this out, because if you're here sitting on this interview and you're like, well, I don't have that community, I don't have that kind of support around me, then you get to go find it. Come to the retreats. Yeah, go get it. Because I didn't have that community either. Like I felt like a lot of my friends weren't willing to show up for themselves, and so I got to go find an awesome community. So thank you for pointing out that as well. You are a yes person, and I know I was going to end on this, but your story with Elena. Can you share that, how to just be a yes person and how to ask? Because that was an incredible testimony to me about how you get to reach out to people who you might be putting on a pedestal of, well, they would never talk to me or they would never listen to me, but really you had that happen and had a powerful conversation.
Yeah, I've had a few really powerful conversations. I've had a really great conversation with Ed Milet, with Grant, with Brad Lee, with some really cool people, just because I'm bold enough to ask if I can have a minute of their time. But here's the thing. You can't expect someone of that caliber to pay attention to you if you're not bringing something of value as well. A lot of people are askers, but they have nothing of value to offer. So 3 years ago, it was 3 years ago this month, actually, I was going to 10X, which I told you. And some of you watching may know who Elena Cardone is. If you aren't, go check her out. She's just a phenomenal woman. Grant and Elena Cardone are just like a powerhouse couple. And I had been a professional hair and makeup artist for like 13 years at that point. And I just DM'd her and I said, hey, do you have a hair and makeup artist booked for GrowthCon yet? And it was like 6 weeks out. So I knew I was like in a safe window. And I'm like, she's not even going to message me back. And I come running in the living room and I'm like, honey, she messaged me back. He's like, are you serious? I'm like, yeah, hold on. Don't talk to me right now. Hold on. Don't talk to me right now. She's talking to me. And I was like by my phone, I'm like, oh my God, did she reply? Did she reply? Because I'm like, do you have a hair and makeup artist? And I'm like, cool, calm and collected. I'm like, here's my website. Because she said, no, actually, I don't have one booked. She said they usually just hire me one in the city that I'm going to. But if you're going to be out here and you're offering, I would love to see your credentials. So I sent her my website. I sent her a few magazines that I had been published in. And I was like, here's my work. I'm legit. After she saw that I was legit, then we started emailing. Then she's like, all right, girl, let's do this. Here's my phone number. And I'm like, Elena Cardone just gave me your phone number. And I'm like, dead, right? I'm like, I can't believe this. And then sure enough, I go to 10X. I'm with her all 4 days. I'm literally being escorted by her bodyguard.
Yeah.
And my favorite part is these women hosted a breakfast for her. And she's like, do you want to come to the breakfast with me? And I'm like, sure. So we walk in to the breakfast together and they're like, oh my God, so how long have you been Elena's personal stylist? I'm like, since yesterday. And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, I just flew into town. They're like, what? And that it blows people's minds. But I'm like, you have to be willing to ask,
Yeah.
but have something of value to offer with your ask. Don't just be a taker.
Yeah, I love that point of just going out and doing, like, you have something valuable to share with the world.
Oh, and let me say this. I want to say this too, because this is a key point of this.
Yeah.
I didn't charge her.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's a multi-millionaire. And people are like, so how much did you make? I'm like, are you kidding me? Like being in the room with her and Grant, having breakfast with them, the people they introduced me to, that was invaluable to me. I didn't envy her. Are you crazy? They're like, yeah, but they're multi-millionaires. Exactly. But value exchange is value. And poor people with a scarcity mindset think in terms of dollars only, when connection and relationships are your most valuable thing that you can have.
That is gold right there. Because I didn't even think about you getting paid, because I was like, what an amazing experience that was.
Yeah.
And exactly, that's what it gets to be, is when you realize like you could exchange value, and it doesn't just mean that like that's just to make money. It's like the connections that you get to make, and be bold and put that out there. And so who are you going to reach out to? Like, to the audience listening, like, who are you going to reach out to tonight to make a powerful, powerful connection? Because it doesn't get to be tomorrow, it doesn't get to be the next day. If you're listening to this right now, you got to write down a name, whoever comes out to you, and you get a message them tonight, and you got to follow up and be there. So thank you. I'm so glad that you added that on, because that was really, really powerful to just take action and to reach out to those people that you put on a pedestal. I'm sure, like, I've done that with Elena too. I've messaged her and she writes, whatever it is, like, you get to do that. So thank you for pointing that out. I'm actually going to write down a name too. So I'm going to do it too. Awesome. Yes. Thank you so much for being on my show. I have loved this. Thank you for sharing with our audience.
Yes, you are so very welcome. You guys can come find me on Instagram, my website. I'm pretty active. I'm always in my DMs. So if somebody messaged me, I'm always messaging back. So love to meet new people.
I love that. I love how you actually, you care so much about people, and it shows. And so thank you for that. Thanks for encouraging me always to do that as well. I cannot wait to see what's next for us.
Yes, it's going to be good.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, girl.